Hey there, Emily. Let's take a look at your essays. I saw that you had an email for me. I'll try to address it at the end, okay? So let's see what you said. Energy security. Okay. The issue of depletion of many energy sources has grown in importance these days. Okay, this is something that I consider a heavy sentence. Why? Because it has all these prepositions of. So it's just a little heavy. Try to maybe lighten it up a little bit by using some noun phrases. So the issue of energy source depletion has grown in importance these days. Okay? Faced with a severe situation, it is believed by some that nuclear energy is the best option to alleviate the ever-growing energy crisis. Okay, be careful. Nuclear energy is not really considered green energy. Is it renewable? Yeah, but it's not considered green energy. It's this kind of neither here nor there sort of thing. So yeah, it's not a fossil fuel, but at the same time, it's not considered green. All right, so also, you can't assume that even if it were a type of renewable energy, or that we consider it to be green energy, that all green energy is nuclear, because there are other types of green energy. There's solar, there's wind, there's, I don't know, like from water, there's hydroelectric power, so there's all that kind of stuff. You can't just take one category and use it to represent the rest of them, okay? All right, so in my opinion, it is a good alternative, but much attention must be paid due to the possible safety issue while adapting it. Safety for issues, there's not just one issue. All right, moving on. Compared to traditional energy sources, nuclear power brings in many benefits to society. First of all, it can considerably alleviate the acute shortage of energy most countries are confronted with today. The central reason for this, not of this, the central reason for this is that a small number of nuclear energy can generate copious amounts of power, which significantly reduces the production cost and provides a great solution to the worsening energy depletion all over the world. In addition, unlike other types of energy, like coal and fossil fuels, all right, what's going on here? In addition, unlike other types of energy, like coal and fossil fuels, which emit a great deal of carbon dioxide contaminating air, nuclear power is virtually a cleaner one. Not virtually a cleaner one, but it just is a cleaner. And I'm not really crazy about one here. So nuclear power is a cleaner type. Okay, so it links back to this type without much pollution. This means that no harms will it make. No, this means that it will not harm public health, rivaling the majority of traditional energy sources. Okay, but you did have to make some of those grammatical changes. Although there is no doubt how nuclear power... wait a minute, did you talk about money? Let's see. Production costs. Yeah, you mentioned it, but it's certainly not developed, okay? Remember that it says reduces costs and a better for the environment. So just one little mention here of the cost is really not enough, okay? And then you said it's clean without pollution. Okay, fine. So, although there is no doubt about how nuclear power will benefit the world, by no means can we be oblivious to its threats to safety. More specifically, when people and plants exploit it, massive radiation will be released, what does that mean substantially? No. Radiation will be released under certain circumstances, get rid of this, which might have catastrophic effects on animals, the environment, and human beings. Leading to unpredictable destruction, no S, of people's health and the ecosystem. Several years ago, the explosion of a nuclear plant in Fukushima in Japan gave rise to countless injuries and deaths, as well as chronic damage, no S, to the next generations who lived there. This is also why the exploitation of nuclear energy safety has become not a contradictory, you mean a controversial topic these days. Okay, so let me get to your conclusion and then I'll tell you my final words about this. In conclusion, the usage of nuclear power, don't forget the power here, certainly helps with meeting the growing global energy demand with reduced costs and better protection of the environment. Nevertheless, cannot B, simply regarded as the most optimal choice due to severe risks it might create. Okay, so the first thing that the most important thing is that you haven't answered this question correctly. When they said green energy, you assumed that they were talking about nuclear energy. They are not. Green energy is all of those other types of renewable sources without nuclear energy. So basically an examiner would consider this off topic, and that's really, really going to hurt your score. Okay, so that's the first thing. So anything else I tell you really is going to be a detail, because this is really going to detract from your score. Apart from that, you didn't deal with it appropriately. So this thing about cost, you only mentioned very, very briefly here, only like 2 words, which is certainly not considered development. And here, because you were talking about the wrong topic, you were talking about nuclear energy, you misunderstood what they were talking about when they said energy security. What they mean is a constant flow of energy that is available without extreme costs. So you've misinterpreted the question on multiple levels, okay? Like I said before, it's going to cost you band scores in your answer. Grammar had some issues. I had to correct a number of things, as you saw. So those 2 things were the issues for me in this essay, okay? Let's move on to, all right, you had a question about the logical organization of maps. Fine. So let's see. Here's what I suggest. First of all, the one thing that a lot of people do is they go straight to the second map, which I think is not a great idea. You should first of all, obviously you have an introduction, and the second thing that a lot of people miss out on is an overview. Just because it's a map, it doesn't mean that it doesn't need an overview. It most certainly does. So what would a good overview for something like that be? Basically that before construction, it was an isolated island with well, we don't know that it was isolated, but it was an island that had no infrastructure to support inhabitants, whereas afterwards it had various facilities in order to support inhabitants and perhaps tourists as well. Okay? So that's what an overview would be for me here. Then you talk about this, even though there's really not a ton to say. I would spend a little bit of time talking about what happened before. All right, just basically that there were some trees scattered through the east and west coast of the island, as well as through the central part, that there was just a beach on the west part of the island. I'm assuming this is west. We don't have any information, but we can assume, since there is no information, that it's northwest, east, south. Okay, and you might want to mention the scale. They very conveniently mention this to you. So one of these is 100, so you might want to say that it's about like 200 and I don't know, what is that, 50 across? You could also add that. I think some of the more developed answers that I've read do mention it, although most people just kind of ignore the scale. It's there for a reason. It's there for you to use, so use it. That's a sign of a better developed answer. All right, so let's now look at what you actually wrote. The maps show the development of an island at 2 distinctive stages, one which is prior to not the reconstruction, the construction. Prior to construction, and the other is afterwards. Fine. Overall, the size of it remained the same throughout this period of building time. Okay. I wouldn't even have said that. Overall, the size of it remained the same. Meanwhile, a considerable amount of accommodations and public facilities were constructed, making this area more livable. Perfect. You said exactly what I had suggested, okay? So, just some little changes, but nothing major. Before the development, besides the beach in the west, there were only a few trees sparsely planted in 4 directions. Once the construction started, significant changes could be found then. First, the trees in the top, well, not top left. You've already referred to east and west, so continue with that. So the trees in the northwest were replaced by an addition of residential buildings, and the same thing happened to the plants. How about this? Rather than the same thing, just say, and this also happened to the plants which were at the south end of the island originally, and were later substituted by the newly built houses linking to each other. That's awkward. What happened here? I'm confused. I don't even know what you're talking about at this point. Let me see. Same thing happened to there were plants. The trees. Okay. And this also happened to the trees in the southern portion of the island. Full stop. They were replaced by newly built houses linked, ed, to each other through footpaths in the shape of a circle. Okay, fine. Another evident difference is the appearance of three complexes which were located between the two areas of accommodations, and they were connected through footpaths and vehicle tracks. Apart from where people can live and be entertained, it has to be passive voice, there were also some public facilities installed to get rid of the being. A lake was built in the east near the circular living area, and in front of the mall there was a pier stretching into the sea where boats were available. Okay, why do I feel like you left something out? You didn't really. Did you say the lake was constructed? You did. You mentioned this, but not really a ton of information about it. Let me see what you said about that again. Top left, residential building. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah, it's fine. I don't disagree with the way you organized this. I think you did a pretty good job. Some of the language you used is a little awkward. It's not totally IELTS-y, if I could put that way. But on the whole, it's appropriate. Okay, it does what it's supposed to do. You've gotten the right idea for sure. All right, so go ahead and correct these. Do we have more essays from you? I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember what I saw in the email. I hope we do. I do want to see more work from you. You're doing really well. You're doing a lot of good work, although I'd like to see you continuing with us right up to your exam. All right, I think that kind of staying in practice will really help you. Okay? So again, let me see if you're... Yeah, okay, so this is your last essay. See if you can sign up, Emily, for more essays. Like I said, I want to see you practicing your IELTS right up to your exam, okay? So hopefully I'll see more of your essays soon. I want to wish you good luck, and keep on writing.